You're not going to ask them to manage the Facebook page. It doesn't really make sense. But if you know somebody is much younger and much more familiar with social media, then that's the person. They will be excited about what it is that they have to do. So matching work relevant. The next thing is that minimizing meetings. Schedule meetings sparingly and at volunteers' convenience. What often happens is that we feel as though whenever we have an event that we must have hundreds of meetings or tens of meetings. And meetings must be taking, and the number of meetings that we have will mean that the output to the final product will be better. So the more meetings is proportional to, the more effective or the better outcome in terms of what we decide to organize, what we decide to do. But this is not the case, not necessarily the case. We have to be able to know how to be able to manage time. And time spent in meetings can in most instances can be wasted time. I'm not saying don't meet. I'm saying when you meet, know exactly what you're meeting for. That the agenda is circulated well in advance. That you cut out from that all of the different things. Sometimes you go to a meeting and people spend the first half or the first 75 minutes of the meeting talking about things which are not relevant to the project at hand, or sort of indulging in, let's say, old talk among themselves and that type of thing. How are you and how is the family and friends? And let's wait on this one and that one and on the telephone. And before you know it, time is going and then you only have a few minutes left for the real agenda. So be careful. The other thing about meetings is that how meetings are being conducted is changing. And especially if we want to do events across the Caribbean, across large geographical distance, we have to be able to use social media platforms, okay, to be able to communicate and to be able to have meetings. For some people that's difficult because they can't contemplate the idea of maybe having something online. But meetings like that can be very, very effective. Simple things like having threads whereby you, for instance, you create an agenda, you have items, and people start commenting on each point. And sometimes you can find online, you can get all of what you want to do done very quickly. So minimize meetings, giving some latitude. So define the job, allowing some freedom in how it is done. So you may be the project manager, and you might decide you want to get X tasks done. But however, and you might give it to someone to do, but you also need to give them a little bit of latitude in terms of how they get it done. You can't be somebody who is always bossing over them, looking over their shoulder. You need to be able to empower those that you give assignments to. And then the last thing is that of providing orientation. Introduce volunteers to the organization and how it works. Your organization may have a particular ethos in terms of how it works, the standards that it sets, the type of discipline, the type of organization that it commands. And therefore, you need to be able to let your volunteers know who you are, what you are about, who you associate with, such that when things are done, things are done in alignment with what the organization expects. Okay, so where are we? All right. So you're here. So that's engaging. The next one is encouraging. So encourage how to keep them coming back. And this is the big thing. So it's easy to do the first two. This is the hardest bit. The hardest bit here is how to ensure that your volunteers remain with you. Okay? So leadership should ensure that volunteers meet new people. It's not just about giving them a task and telling them to go off on their own, but let them meet new people. Let them see others who are also working within the same organization that you are involved in. Okay, if it's a team, it could be that you have some team building exercises. It could be that you go off and have a meal together and you discuss things. It doesn't always have to be in a closed room. So meet new people, learn new skills. So whenever a volunteer comes in, that volunteer should be empowered and given new skills. Even if they remain with you for a few months, or, that they should have acquired something new. And you should be looking forward to be able to empower them with that. The next thing is that reinforce their own leadership and participatory decision-making skills. So all of the things that they're doing, you need to be able to give them positive encouragement. Not just say, what you've done, or always be criticizing them, but give them encouragement. Make a difference in the organization or the community, okay? And this is the thing, the volunteers should be seeing the type of difference that they are making within the organization and how the activity is having an effect on the community. So all of the good stories that needs to be told should be told. And then lastly, that of advance within the profession, or as in the case of new professionals, make contacts for jobs or career advancement. So the volunteers can also see how it is that their skills can help them in their own careers, in their own development. It could be that you are involving them in a project that deals with counseling. And it may be that you want to be able to empower them so that they go on to do a counseling degree or a counseling diploma, as the case may be. So that's about encouraging. The next thing is about motivation. Yeah.
Just go back and
yeah.
The one that you're talking about, making a difference in the organization or in the community, is that something that the volunteer himself would recognize, or the people in the organization would acknowledge that, and so how is it going to happen?
It has to happen because very often
No, I'm saying how.
The people who are in charge within the organization, if they see it, and they should be able to recognize it, they should be feeding back to their volunteers what is happening, how their contribution is making a difference. So there has to be that continuous feedback loop.
I know I raise this because I think very often people, come and they contribute to, to activities and so on, right? And what value they have added to the activity and to the organization very often goes unmentioned, right?
Unrecognized, yeah.
To gain some fame or something like that. But I think from the point of view of the organization that they serve, right, and add value to, I think the organizations, should be making every effort to show appreciation.
Yeah.
And to let the person know, that they have made a difference.
Yeah.
Right? That in itself is motivation, for people to continue to serve the organization. Right? So I think that's the thing about appreciation.
Yeah.
And even to be able to say thank you that you have done, you have made a difference to us in some way. I think that's something that Muslims need to do a little bit more.
I mean, very often we have events which takes place, and our volunteers, they come and do every single thing. They're not given a certificate. They're not, rewarded in some way for what they do, and there's very little acknowledgement. All of things are very important in terms of encouraging them to continue. So the next one I want to talk about is motivation for involvement. And there are a number of things that we can do to help motivate people to be involved. And among those, one is that brotherhood. The need for wholesome relationships and interaction within the faith community. They should see this, when it is that they're together, they will feel as though, yes, we can do things. And that is a very strong force of motivation, to be able to do things together, working together. It's just like us who are here. The fact that we are here together, we come from different islands and so on, and the Guyanese brothers have been such a good bond among them. They've been here for so many days. This in itself is a good form of motivation to be able to help them to continue to be involved. The next thing is that of achievement. We've spoken about that. The desire to see their work result in tangible outcomes that are aligned with their belief system. So if it is that they believe, let's say in dawah, in encouraging others to come into the fold of Islam, and they can see the results of their work, then, or it could be that they involve in youth activity and they see more and more youth coming in. That in itself is a form of motivation. Security, the desire to protect the community from actions that run counter to the demands of their faith. Again, they see how their actions are helping to protect their faith and their community. And responsibility, the desire to work out problems that are hindering the advancement of their faith among individuals and in the community. Now, I'm going through these things quite quickly because we don't have the type of time that I would like. Hopefully, we're going to do this again as a webinar, but I just want to introduce you to some of the concepts, inshallah. Okay. And some of the other things will be like creative expression, a sense of service, of growth, and of identity. All of those things are critical factors in terms of motivation for involvement. So this, in a sense, is a 3D model. Before they begin enrolling into a project or into an organization, engaging after they begin, and then encouraging how to keep them coming back. Those are the 3 things, inshallah. So I just want to end with this quotation from Humphrey, which he says that the moral test of a society is how that society treats those who are in the dawn of life. The children, those who are in the twilight of life, the elderly, and those who are in the shadow of life, the sick, the needy, and the handicapped. If people were to recognize some of these things, then they would be empowered to know how important social activism and social engagement is. And Islam is equal to social engagement. If any